Hey, stage 3 over, yeah? I managed to hit nothing again. How many? 3? 1, 2, 3. I managed to hit Body Vision, Navi, and Falcons. And everything else was like, I had Spirit as 3-0 and I pulled out, so whatever. But this has been the worst major, I think, when it comes to my own pick'ems ever. I didn't do in the first like 20 majors, I didn't do pick'ems single time. Then I started doing, and I did it for like how many, whatever. And this is by far the worst. I couldn't get a single stage right. And I think that's all gonna change when we have like all best of threes. I think it's gonna change for a lot of people. But that's not the subject today. The subject today is obviously the playoffs. And we have a pretty stacked fucking playoffs, don't we? Yeah? We have, top teams pretty much outside of maybe FaZe, I guess, and or Navi, depends who you cheer for. And who is missing? Maybe Aurora, but they didn't even deserve to be here. That's it, right? So pretty stacked playoffs. I haven't seen this stacked playoffs for a long time. Uh, just a quick reminder as well that, and my Serbian friend said this on a Serbian podcast, so I didn't really check it, but I assume it's right that not a single team in all of the three CS2 majors that finished 3-0 managed to get past quarterfinals. So that's like what, 6 teams lost in the quarterfinals. So that's an interesting fact. But we're gonna start from top to bottom. Then we have obviously first Spirit against Falcons. Spirit showed that they went 3-0, right? They showed a pretty strong game against in the second round where they beat FaZe 13-5 on Dust 2. And in the 2-0 game, they dominated Mirage against Mouse. They lost Train, which is a bad bet for them, especially because they played against Liquid as well, and they had sort of a problem there, but Dong dropped 30 kills, so he kind of carried them through. And then they won at overpass because they were down 4-8, but they had a good CT side and they won 13-11. Overall, I think they played good Counter-Strike, not the best Counter-Strike on the tournament, because Furia played the best Counter-Strike on the tournament, but they played good enough to beat 3-0. Falcons, on the other hand, we already saw they opened up against Pate, lost on their own favorite map of Ancient. And then they had 2 wins in a row, and then they lost to Mouse. In a strange way, I think that they lost 6 pistols out of 6 they played. So, and they had that comeback on their own map pick of Mirage, 11-5 to 13-11. It was a pretty one-sided game, and I think that there was like a dark half for Mouse Sports on their own T side of Mirage, which they didn't know where to go or what to do, or the calls were terrible. If you go back and look at that game, you'll see all they did is a default back to A, default back to A execute, default back to A, and nothing really worked. Falcons dominated him like 8 rounds in a row. They won that, and all from that point, it was a one-way traffic for Mouse. 2-1. They ended up in a 2-2 against G2, and we all probably, everybody who was watching me, probably watched that game too. And again, they lost the opening pick of Ancient the second time in the third stage, and they barely managed to win in the third map on Dust 2, where Monacy, had a highlight game, like really, really, really good game, where he delivered a lot of impact, especially in the last 5 rounds. Tactically, again, whoever called the double op setup on that CT side was really like the game changer on that one. The second map, I didn't want to even talk about it because it was 13-5. Bonacy dominated again. He showed up in this best of 3 very strong, and then he made them, go to the playoffs, which can be a really good thing. Now, we all know the history between Falcons and Spirit, or let's say Nico and Bonacy against Spirit. They're what, 10-0 or 11-0 right now against the Shiro, Donk, and Spirit as a team. And I do think they will beat them as well this time. The map pool is weird for Spirit, and good for Falcons because they don't have to play Inferno, which is their weak map ish, and Overpass is the map they banned themselves. So they can go either way. Spirit is the one that needs to scramble. I think it's very hard to kind of give up on Donk, but Spirit hasn't been looking, ever since the new additions, hasn't been looking like the team that won Shanghai Major. So I'm gonna pick Falcons here, put them in the semis. Vitality Mongols. Vitality Mongols is an interesting game to watch. Mongols, a routine job in the third stage. Nobody expected that. Controllers or controls, whatever you want to call them, 123 rating. They beat Liquid. They beat G2 in a best of three. They lost to Imperial. Pretty kind of not bad, but like it was a close game, but unexpected, I would say, because I guess it was the opener. They didn't like play well, and it was like adjusting period. They could have won that game, but they lost it. Ever since that, they hit the routine job going into the quarters. It shows the system, the blitzes and Mara's systems work. They integrated controllers, very very well right now, and they have nothing to lose in this quarterfinal. Like they're gonna be playing, without any pressure. They will just have fun because I think they managed to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. Obviously, the dream will always be to win every event that you play on, but still, like I don't think they're gonna feel any pressure. Speaking about the pressure, Vitality there will be under a lot of it because they opened up on the third stage, similar to last major in Austin, with a defeat. Now, in the Austin, it was 13-1 to Legacy, it was 13-5 to FaZe this time, FaZe that managed to get into the playoffs as well. So they didn't play well. Against 3D Max, they demolished them 13-4. We all know the story that was behind it, that 3D Max had to go back to the hotel and rush back, that there was no taxis and all of that, but still, domination from... They didn't have time to prepare. That's why I'm saying that. Vitality dominated against Bait as well. And they were, even though they won a pistol, they lose the second, they win the third 3 times out of 4 games they played. So it's a very interesting fact. I don't think that can happen very, very much, as well as my Serbian colleague said. But the pressure is there for them. I do think they're gonna be beating the pressure of the quarterfinals and Mongols simply because I think they have a stronger individuals and more experience, and they're just a better team overall in a best of three. I think it was a best of one, then maybe there would be a conversation, but best of three, obviously, I think it's going to go into Vitality's favor. Now, this is the most interesting matchup for me. I mean, obviously, besides the Spirit and Falcons, this is a super interesting game. These teams met in the first round where Furia won 12-0 on... It was 13-2, 12-0 half on Nuke when they started on CT. Navi played that game terribly. When I spoke to them a little bit, they said they made a lot of mistakes on the crossing. On the crossing on outside, they didn't really feel it that day altogether. Like as a team, they were playing badly. Obviously, Molodoi was unbelievable again in that game. So it's not just Navi; it was Fury actually playing good. But I don't think that result currently shows the form that Navi has been in this event. That doesn't say... Notice that I'm saying in this event. I'm not saying they are a great team. They are a super good team. I'm just saying they played decent in the third stage and the second stage of this major, even though they didn't have like super crazy tough opponents, right? For me, I'm gonna go with a surprise here because I think Navi can be very dangerous to Furia. We saw that final they played in a best of 5. That Furia won 3-2 after losing 0-2. Even though they demolished them in the last 3 maps, Navi still won those 2 first maps. I think it can be very interesting. I think the pressure can be a little bit too much, maybe, for Furia. Even though, as I'm saying this, I am aware that Furia played the best Counter Strike of the event, in the best Counter Strike in the last 4 months. I am just like thinking about the pressure, thinking about the big moment. Maybe it's not going to happen for you in quarterfinals. Maybe it happens in the semis. I'm going to pick Navi on this one, even though it's super crazy. I know in the comments it's going to be nuts and like people are going to be, condemning my pick, but I'm basing it on different circumstances that most of people would. And I'm just gonna pick a surprise there. I think Navi is gonna have a really good game plan coming into this best of three because they have a lot of time to prepare for it. I'm gonna count on the role of Blade in all of this. Wonderful has been playing very well. Makaze is a hit and a miss. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it. Everybody knows my opinion on their star player. And Bit has been playing a very good game, especially like in a best of ones. So overall, I think there is material to think about it. There are cards and tricks that Navi can use to beat his favorite Furia. And they're going to also be playing against, team that's under pressure, that he's been looked at as a team to win the whole major. Navi has zero pressure. They're probably not going to go into the next event. They play with the same lineup. So why not just, go out there and do damage and maybe win. So I'm going to put them to win. And now we have Mouse FaZe. Let's start with FaZe. FaZe started in a stage 1, yeah? They were supposed to be out of that stage 1 after that game with Cannons, but they managed to win because the guy didn't smoke the bomb and Kerrigan shot him 0.4 seconds before he defused in the match point. So they managed to somehow get to stage 2. Stage 2, they dominated. They went through 3-0. Nobody expected that. They went through. Jacob showed like that he's playing better than what we saw in the last few months. Brokey was starting to show up. This was like his normal. Kerrigan had a lot of impact as an IGL in that role. So they managed to go through. Stage 3, they had just some legit wins, right? Also some terrible losses as well. Like they beat Vitality in the opener. They lost to Mongols. So they beat 3D Max on 1-2, and they beat who was Passion UA in 2-2. Yeah. So not the greatest opponents, but not the weakest one. So they deserve to be here with all the fights they showed. Like they fought through the whole problem they had, and I think like and the whole situation and the pressure and the like people writing them off. They fight through that, and they deserve their spot at the playoffs, and we're gonna leave it at that, right? And I don't think they're going to be getting past quarterfinals because they have Mouse on the other side. Mouse, everything is stacked against them in a sense. Like if you counter all past like events and things that happen, right? They are the team that chokes in the playoffs. The players don't show up in the playoffs. Spinks has been playing not so good event. Exertion has been playing great event, but it's the group stage. We know that he always plays in the group stage great event. For me, the biggest problem is Jim Hat, who doesn't really deliver, not in the group stage or playoffs. If he activates a little bit more, if he plays a little bit better, his Mouse is winning this and probably going to the finals. Now, are they going to beat Mouse? I think they will. I think Torjik is going to be the main factor. He performed very well. He likes playing in front of his crowd. It seems like his family is there. He's playing really good Counter Strike. He's a big reason why Mouse is considered strong. Maybe somebody is not considered the strongest, but still considered a strong team. He's going to lead them through that quarterfinals. I think they're gonna relatively convincingly beat Mouse in that quarterfinals. It should be 2-0 simply because of the pressure and the differences between the teams. Now the semis. The semis are gonna be first semi is gonna be Falcons against Vitality. For me, this is where Vitality's run stop. I think they have experienced a lot of problems in the past, in the third stage, and in the past few months in the second season as well. They were not the same team that was in the first part of the season. The individuals are not hitting their numbers as they did in the first season part of the season. Mistakes are happening. You can count on Zaiwu always. He can always deliver, but how much can he carry, right? We have Flames who is not delivering, Robs who fell off a little bit, and then Apex with his usual game, and then Messi has been falling off steadily since the first half of the year. I think this is the matchup where there is no ancient and there is no overpass. I think teams Falcons can go to different maps. Vitality doesn't have a signature pick, and that's the biggest problem. They're uncertain on any map they pick, so they might go for Inferno, but then Falcons gained confidence on Inferno by beating G2 13-5. So it can be a tough matchup, very tough matchup for Vitality. I'm gonna pick Falcons on that one and put them into the finals. On the other side, the similar way that I said that Vitality's road stop, the same goes for Navi. I don't think they can surprise Furia, but I don't think they can surprise Mouse. I think they're gonna be like super spent after the quarterfinal. Maybe they got, maybe they start feeling like satisfied with the result or satisfied with the accomplishment or whatever. But whatever they feel like or whatever they play, they're gonna be entering a strong mouse that just defeated FaZe on the stage in the quarterfinals of a major. They got over that hump of the whatever you call it. They got over that hump for stage games and pressure under in front of the audience. Maybe individually they step up too. Like I said, Jimcat, maybe Spinks has a good game. It should be more than enough to have Mouse into the finals. For me, the Mouse Falcons finals. Now this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one, and it's a best of 5. And individually speaking, form wise, teams are similar. Falcons have maybe slight advantage in experience when it comes to, like, obviously Nico Monesi combination, even though they have a lot of experience themselves. Best of 5, we are counting out Overpass, which is a decent map for Mouse. And what's his Mouse not playing? Nuke, maybe? Can't remember. I think it's Nuke. Uh, so Falcons can go on either map. They always beat them on Ancients. They can play, they can play all sorts of maps. Strain is in the play as well. Dust too. I don't know. The thing is, like, they already played once this event, and Mouse was like one-sided game against them. But that is where the all stars of Falcons were kind of quiet. Now Falcons lifted their form quite a bit, and they're going to be lifting it throughout the playoffs. For me, this is where Mouse stops. I think this is a 3-1 final for Fnatic, not for Fnatic, for Falcons. And Bonessi is going to be the MVP. Nico wins the major, and I think this is the end of it. Maybe, I mean, considering my last 3 stages, this is probably going to go all upside down. But even this Falcons in the finals pick for me is like more as a how do you call it, like a pick from my being biased towards Nico and Monesi rather than, objectively speaking about the facts. But it's the final. Hey, it's a best of 5. They already met. It's hard to beat the same team twice in the tournament. It's going to be an interesting final in front of the crowds, and I think Falcons can finally, take it. So that is my potentially failed pick'ems for the playoffs. I'm gonna click save. Now you let me know, guys. You let me know what you think in the comments. You have been very active in the past videos, so keep it up. Like the channel, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Let me know what your thoughts are and what your pick'ems are, and I'll see you after the event is done. See you later.